What's up guys, welcome to today's video. I am so pumped about this video. I know you guys have been waiting for it, so I promise I will not make this intro very long. We are just going to get right into the review. Today's video, as you can probably tell by the title of this video, is the review of the Garmin VivoMove heart rate monitor smartwatch slash wristwatch. So what I'm going to do to break down this review and to pretty much make it as well-rounded as possible, I'm gonna start out by first talking about just the Garmin specs, kind of taking some things off of the website that they already list, like their text, what it records, and then I'm gonna kind of compare it to my Fitbit Versa. Just as a side note, if you haven't seen any of those videos, I do have an entire playlist of different Fitbit reviews. I'm sure if you're not new to my channel, you know that I absolutely love Fitbit products. I am not affiliated with Fitbit or Garmin. I purchased them both on Amazon with my own money just to review them because partially, you know, I wanted to see what the discrepancy was between the two of them, and also I know that a lot of you guys are in the market for fitness watches, so I want to try to help you out as best as I can. So let's just jump right into the review. We're going to start with the watch. So I'm going to get up close and personal for you guys and show you the watch. Now again, this is the Garmin VivoMove, whatever, heart rate, and this is the Sport Edition with the rubber band in the black and rose gold color. They do have another version of the watch with leather, and I believe that one's like $350. This one was $199. I got it on sale on Amazon, so I want to say it was like $159 when I bought it, but when I double checked the website, it is listed as $199 on the Garmin website. So obviously right off the bat, what you guys are going to notice with this watch is that it looks like a regular watch. It doesn't in any way, shape, or form resemble a smartwatch like the Apple Watch, or in my case, the Fitbit Versa. It definitely, like if you were just looking at it and the screen wasn't lit up, you would just think that the person that's wearing this is wearing a regular watch. This has some pros and cons, some cons that I'll get into once I start talking about the like face features of the watch. But if you're somebody that prefers to not look like they're wearing a fitness tracker, then I would say that would be a pro for you, because you can pretty much wear this with like business outfits, any other type of regular outfits, and it doesn't necessarily look like you're wearing a fitness tracker. Now, the downside to that is, and hopefully you can tell, if not, I'll put a little screen cap up on this, but if you can see, the actual face of the watch and where it lights up is really small. I don't like having to like, you know, look at the watch super up close and scroll through it. And we'll kind of talk more about like the touch features of the watch as well. But if you are somebody that wants your entire watch to have data on it when you're looking at it, that's going to be something that would be considered a con, because the actual screen of this watch is like this big and it's on the bottom. The cool thing is when you do flip your wrist up to look at it, the little hands that are on there, they move out of the way, which is nice. So you're not like looking through the hands of the watch. But like I said, if you're looking for something that actually shows the entire screen of the watch, then I would say go with a Versa or something that has a full screen capability. So first thing we're going to talk about is notifications on this watch. Just like with the Fitbit, pretty much any smartwatch these days, you're going to get your basic notifications for text message, phone calls. This one has the capability to get the notifications on other apps as well. So for example, if your iPhone does that thing where when you get in the car, it thinks it knows where you're going and it's like 8 minutes to blah, 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 that will come up on the watch. My Target app has shown up on the watch, and there's also other things on here like weather, so your stress score, which we'll get into, your total calories burned. So it does give you notifications, and you will have the capability in the app to customize what you want it to notify you of. So for example, let's say that you've set your step goals to, you want to climb 5 flights a day. Once you hit the 5 flights, it will do a bunch of vibrations and it will say goal reached. Just like with the Fitbit, the little confetti will come up on the screen and it will be like 10K steps or whatever. I would say that in terms of comparing this to the Fitbit Versa, just because that's the one that I have, this shows you less on the notifications, and that I think is partially just because the screen is so small. So for example, I just got a text message and it's from Alyssa, but the only thing that it will show me is a little message symbol and then Alyssa, and then if I swipe, it will show me like the first 3 words of the text message. So like where the Versa, if you get a text, it will pop up pretty much her entire message unless someone's sending you like a super long paragraph. So notifications, pretty standard. The next thing that I want to talk about is what they use for heart rate monitoring, which this whole entire section is probably going to be really detailed, because this is what I found the most interesting in the difference between the Garmin and the Fitbit. So reading off of their website, it says that they use 24/7 heart rate tracking capability with Elevate. That is the I guess, type of heart rate monitor that they use on the bottom of the watch. While our wrist heart rate monitor technology is state of the art. There are inherent limitations with the technology that may cause some of the heart rate readings to be inaccurate under certain circumstances. These circumstances include the user's physical characteristics, the fit of the device, and intensity of the activity. The heart rate monitor data is not intended to be used for medical purposes, nor is it intended to diagnose, blah, blah, blah. Wrist heart rate accuracy during swimming is very limited. So there is going to be one con against the Garmin versus the Fitbit. The Fitbit is waterproof up to 50 meters. You can swim with it. You can actually do swimming workouts, and I have tested that before. As I said in my Fitbit review video, I've swam with it. I've done like track to workout, and it tracks accurately my heart rate the entire time. It didn't lose connection with my heart rate, so that's pretty cool. So it says Garmin does not recommend using wrist heart rate during swimming activities, and on some products, wrist heart rate monitoring is disabled while swimming. Now, it doesn't say if that is with this particular watch. I haven't tried it. I've only had it for a week, so I'm not entirely sure. But from what I've read, it says that Garmin recommends using the HRM Swim or HRM Tri heart rate monitors, which are compatible devices to track heart rate while swimming. So this, if you are a swimmer, I would say steer clear of this and maybe get something that's geared more towards like underwater activities. On the other hand, Garmin offers what's called a stress calculator. And if you guys remember from my Whoop video, I talked about the heart rate variability and how it calculates your stress or your HRV. Now, in this particular watch, the VIVOMOVE, I don't know if it actually measures heart rate variability. It does give you a stress score, but I tried so hard to figure out whether or not HRV was calculated in this. And from what I read, the only watches that had the traditional HRV was the Forerunner 935. So I did not see that this watch has HRV capabilities, although it gives you a stress score. So what that stress score is, I have no idea. I'll pop mine up here so you guys can see. It gives you like a scale of 0 to 100, but it doesn't necessarily tell you how much or what it's calculating it based off of. I would assume HRV, but this watch doesn't have like any advertising that says, oh, this watch tracks your heart rate variability. So I'm a little bit skeptical about that. It also offers on this watch a VO2 test, which I found interesting. I didn't actually do it because, to be honest with you, I don't think it's gonna be accurate. A traditional VO2 max test is done like in a lab setting where you're hooked up and it measures your oxygen count while you're at a full sprint, and then you can also do it while you're at like a 10 to 15 minute run or jog, whatever. The way that the Garmin measures that VO2 max is you put it on the VO2 setting and then you go for a run for 15 minutes, and it's supposed to use some type of calculator that calculates your heart rate and your pace to give you your VO2 max score. When I was doing my research on this, I found that the Garmin vastly underestimated the VO2 max when they were comparing the lab results, like in a traditional lab setting, to the Garmin, and the Polar one with the heart rate strap overestimated. So I thought that was kind of interesting just to see the discrepancies between the two. But obviously if you're looking for a true VO2 max test, I would suggest doing it in some type of lab. But I don't think that if anyone's buying a Garmin, like that's what they're looking for, you know. However, on the website, it does advertise all day stress tracking. So like I said, not sure if that's correlated to HRV or just some type of like new fancy thing that they want to make seem really cool. But if it is, I mean, I guess that's kind of nice. Maybe it's hard to tell because I feel like for somebody like myself who is getting up into that really high heart rate range throughout my workouts and stuff, that might be perceived as stress. And I know obviously that's physical stress on my body, but I'm not sure as to what it's gauging the stress, you know, levels as. So just looking at the watch, when you are swiping through it, as soon as you lift up the watch, it's going to tell you the date, your current daily steps, the time, steps out of 10,000, your floors climbed out of whatever your goal is, how many active minutes you have, how many calories you've burned, and then you have your music, your weather, your text messages, and your heart rate. It does also have the little stress calculator at the end, and it's supposed to gauge your stress. Like if you want to test it, it says to keep still for 30 seconds and it's supposed to measure. But again, like I said, I don't know if that's measuring your heart rate or your HRV. It doesn't tell you. If you guys know, please let me know in the comments because I could not figure it out. And then lastly, off the website, it advertises that the battery life is up to 5 days on the smartwatch mode and up to 2 weeks on watch face only mode, which I don't know why you would use it on watch face only mode if you're buying a specific smartwatch, but I can confirm that it did last up to 5 days. The Fitbit, it kind of depends on how many notifications you get. If someone's blowing up your phone all day and you're using a ton of notifications, it's It's gonna last maybe 4 days, but I have pushed my Fitbit to 5 days as well by turning off my text message notifications. So I wouldn't really say that the Garmin is like significantly better in terms of battery life, but it just does, it's nice that it does last a full 5 days. So now we're gonna talk about the setup. The setup on the Garmin was actually really, really easy. I just opened the box, it told me to download the app, synced it, and it was done. Now I would say that is definitely a pro because personally, I know from experience, and I know a ton of you guys have said this before on my Fitbit videos, you guys had some issues setting up the Fitbit, and I did as well. I think there were 2 times I had to actually call Fitbit customer service and kind of have them reset my watch because there was something wrong with the Bluetooth, wrong with the setup, it wouldn't sync. So I think that sometimes Fitbits can be notorious for having like syncing issues. So that was nice about the Garmin. I haven't had any issues syncing it or setting it up. It was really, really easy and really user friendly. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the most exciting part about this review, which is the comparable data. And this I found so very interesting. So for the whole entire 24 hours, I wore both watches on my left wrist. The only time I moved the watch, my Fitbit, to the other wrist was when I was working out because it was like way too clunky to have 2 of these watches on one arm. But other than that, I kept both watches on my wrist. I had the Garmin down towards the bottom and then my Fitbit on the top, and I made sure that both of them were able to read my heart rate before I went to bed and everything. So the first thing that I want to show you guys, which I thought was really, really interesting, was the difference in sleep. So we're gonna start off with the first night's sleep that I did. Because I wore it for 24 hours, I got 2 nights of sleep in 2 different days to compare data. So I wanna show you guys them because I thought it was really interesting. Now, my Garmin said that my resting heart rate was 52, which I'm not sure if that is why it keeps thinking that I'm going to sleep really early, because once I'm winding down for the night and I'm just like sitting on the couch and doing client emails, it was saying that I was falling asleep. As you can see on the Garmin sleep details, it said that I was asleep at 9:48 and woke up at 7:51, which gave me 9 hours and 54 minutes total, 9 minutes awake, 2 hours and 30 minutes of REM sleep, 6 hours and 41 minutes of light sleep, and 43 minutes of deep sleep. I didn't actually get into bed until 10 o'clock, and I didn't probably fall asleep until 10:30. So I think that would be the biggest discrepancy, and I don't know if this is gonna be an individual thing. For example, if somebody has a higher heart rate, resting heart rate than mine, it might not do that. But I'm just wondering if maybe that's because my resting heart rate is so low, I kept thinking I was sleeping. When you look at that compared to the Fitbit night sleep, the Fitbit said that I fell asleep at about 10:16. I woke up at 7:50, so same time for waking up. And it said that I was awake for 55 minutes, 1 hour and 15 minutes of REM sleep, and I totally cut off how much light sleep, but kind of similar in terms of the REM sleep and the light sleep. The awake time was what was really different, almost an hour difference. And then my Fitbit said that I was only sleeping for 8 hours and 39 minutes. So about an hour and a half difference. Again, if that doesn't matter to you, then who cares? But I just thought it was interesting to see that was such a large difference between the 2 of them. So the next really big difference was actually the workout function. So when you go to start the workout on the Garmin, which in my opinion, I feel like this is a negative, only because the screen is so damn small that when you actually swipe through, and I'll take a screen cap of this so you guys can see, but when you swipe through the watch to start your workout, you have to hold the watch down, and it doesn't actually tell you what you're doing. So there's just like a little person jumping, there's a moon, a timer, VO2, heart rate, phone call, question mark, like it doesn't really tell you. You click the person, that's what I did obviously because I'm trying to start my workout. Looks like there's walking, running, some type of stepping up, weights, and then just a regular person. I don't know, it doesn't really, I guess you would have to go on and like look to see which each little person represented. But I will say when I started the one with the weights, it came up and it was like set 1, and then it started this timer, and it's like, okay, I don't want that because I'm doing my own thing in CrossFit and doing a bunch of other stuff. So if you want something to specifically time your sets and rest, I would say that's great. For somebody like me, that's not really important. So I just clicked on the regular person, which I later figured out was other. When I did that, it just started a timer. But the most interesting part of this is that, and I will pop this up here, this was my workout from my Fitbit. So as you can see, my Fitbit calculated 2 hours and 4 minutes, an hour and 24 minutes of fat burn, 29 minutes of cardio. My max heart rate was 204, almost died. And calories burned was 721. Looking over at the Garmin, it calculated 2 hours and 3 minutes, 385 calories. So that is a huge difference. And I was periodically checking to make sure they were both reading my heart rate the entire time, and they were. So which one is right? have no idea. I can't say like, oh, there's no way I only burn 385, because it might be the case, but who knows if Fitbit's overestimating or if Garmin's underestimating. I don't know. In my experience, from what I personally eat calorically, I would say that the Fitbit is right because, and I'll show you this too, my total daily for that day on the Garmin was saying 2,094 calories, 1,567 resting, and 527 calories burned of active. So that gave me a total of 2,094, whereas my Fitbit for that exact same day showed 2,473 calories total with 11,534 steps. And I don't know if I got that day of steps on there. I'll have to put it up afterwards, but the steps were about 400 steps different. So just really interesting to see the difference between sleep and working out, which I feel like if you are looking for a fitness tracker, that's gonna be something that you're looking for. Now, I will say with a grain of salt, I wouldn't necessarily take your Fitbit or your Garmin, whatever fitness watch you have, as like the holy grail and then base your calories off that, because as you can see, they're both really different, and if you have one versus the other, how do you know which one to go by? Like I said, from my personal experience, I feel like because I know where my calories are at, I would say that the Fitbit is probably a little bit more accurate, and that's just because I know that I've bulked on, 2,600 calories and gained X amount per week, and then I've also cut on 1,800, 1,900 calories and lost like half a pound to a pound per week. So it's hard to say. I can't say with like 100% accuracy, but my gut feeling is that the Fitbit might be a little bit more accurate. But even so, you guys remember when I reviewed the Whoop to the Versa and I wore them both at the same time, and it was the same thing. They were both different. So it's hard to say which one is truly accurate, but in this case, I'm gonna stick with my Versa. To be honest, I just like it more. I like having like the full screen interface. I like the app. Although both the apps are great, I'm not saying anything's wrong with either of them. They're both really user-friendly. They're both nice to look at. I don't know. I really like my Fitbit, and to be honest with you guys, I probably will end up returning the Garmin. I just don't love it. I think it's great, very like minimalistic, but I really enjoy the details and the statistics and all like fitness stuff about the Versa. So that is just my personal opinion. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that it helped make a decision for you if you were torn between the two of them. But let me know what your thoughts are. If you have a Garmin or a different Garmin, if you have any other questions about the watch, absolutely leave it in the comment section below, and I will try to make sure I answer all of them for you guys. But that is where I am wrapping up this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video.